So there's this trend of functional training, almost approached with a kind of a snobbish attitude that um, sparks lots of debates online. Uh, the fact that some people question that the barbell isn't functional enough. And so I'm going to try to share my 2 cents on the topic. Of course, not everyone is going to agree with me. Um, so in real life, most objects that you see, most objects that you carry around are often odd and unbalanced, right? So think sandbags, suitcases, or furniture. They're difficult to maneuver. Um, you might have been humbled by very basic implements that didn't even weigh a lot, right? I know I have, all the while lifting so many more times in the gym with a barbell. Because barbells remove instability in from the side to side in the coronal plane, letting you load more weight. It actually helps you stimulate muscle growth and strength much more reliably than these odd implements. And the fact that the barbell doesn't shift or move around in the coronal plane is actually a feature rather than a bug. See, the standardized nature simply means that there's a frame of reference for everyone. So it allows for progressive overload. You can add weight in small increments, and you only add weight. You add challenge in only one dimension, uh, and that is not stability, right? So you lock in the stability and you keep adding more weight, uh, so that there aren't too many variables to juggle around. With things such as sandbags, yes, you can increase the weight, but for every kg or pound, whichever unit you use that you add to the implement, it comes with an extra few dimensions of challenge, which simply makes improving any single dimension so much more difficult. So if I add a kilo and my concern is to balance it in all three planes, then it's going to be much more difficult to progress. Uh, if life requires us to lift sandbags, then yes, sandbags are the most important tool. It's the best tool. Um, but a barbell is meant to be versatile tool, right? So if lifting sandbag is your only concern, then yeah, the sandbag is absolutely the best tool. But the barbell is absolutely versatile. It can uh, it allows us to tackle muscular strength in the context of reasonable stability. Of course, if you aren't engaging your core and certain you don't have enough technical mastery, then it's going to be unstable. But yeah, by and large, it's quite stable, because it's meant to be loaded evenly. It doesn't mandate the fact that an athlete is challenged in all three planes of motion every single time. So let's say you are doing your squat. Your main concern is to move up and back, right? But let's say you put in bands and lots of kettlebells, and you try to squat up, and let's say that is the standardized implement, right? It's going to be so much more difficult, and it's going to be way more difficult to stimulate any kind of muscular growth. Yeah, you will develop much more stability, but from a purely muscular standpoint, it is going to be very difficult. So again, there are different levels to this, right? Like I said, uh, a Smith machine further reduces the dimension of challenge. The barbell is perhaps at the sweet spot between being too perfect and being too unstable. It's one of the best single tool that you can use, the strength of which carries over reasonably well to almost everything, right? So it does a good job uh, at almost everything, but not necessarily it doesn't do a very good job at any one single thing, except the lift, of course, which you are executing. Uh, and in case you haven't noticed, it's very difficult building triceps using sandbag skull crushers, um, or any implement that's not designed or engineered precisely. The barbell can be used to develop strength across multiple angles if you are creative enough. So it challenges certain planes of motion more harshly than others. For example, our natural, uh, the way we are designed, our joints are meant to handle more weight in the uh, in the sagittal plane as opposed to the coronal plane, because we don't really have natural joints that allow us to move sideways. Yes, our spine allows for mobility. We can move sideways, but you can't really load it uh, as much as you can in the sagittal plane. So the human body is stronger at moving in the sagittal plane. That is the thing, like the front to back. The barbell does so much more. So the barbell allows us to challenge our muscles and build muscular strength in the context of reasonable stability. So it doesn't really mandate an athlete be challenged in all three planes of motion all the time. Again, stability is relative. There are different levels to this. A Smith machine further reduces the dimensions of challenge. Uh, some people who are barbell purists often look down upon people who use a Smith machine, but it has its place, especially for older people who want to typically build muscle safely. And sometimes it's not something that young people can relate to. But yeah, if people have a history of injury, then a Smith machine might be the better of the two. Now, overall, the barbell is perhaps at the sweet spot uh, in terms of stability. It's more stable than a sandbag. It's more unstable than a Smith machine, but one of but it's one of the best single tool that can be used across all boards. Like it carries over to almost everything. It might not uh, give you the strength to hold, let's say, 100 kilo sandbags over your head. Uh, that is a very specialized skill, but for all general skill, the single most effective tool in my opinion is the barbell. And also, of course, there are the dumbbells and kettlebells. I mean, all of these equipments that we've been using for uh, god knows how many decades now, right? So yeah, so people look down upon gym strength like it's fake, right? Like it's purely cosmetic. um so that isn't the case. So how harsh it challenges us. um so the barbell, it challenges certain planes more than the others, and it actually corresponds to our own natural strengths. So for example, in a squat, the plane that gets challenged the most is the sagittal plane. um, so the front to back plane, right? And it's reasonably stable from right to left, right? So the human body is stronger at moving in the sagittal plane or front to back more than, say, the coronal plane or side to side. Yeah, we have spinal mobility to move from side to side, but if you've experimented with suitcase deadlifts or something that loads only one side, you will notice that you're significantly weaker in that plane compared to uh, in the sagittal plane. So the lesson here is that just because something is more unstable, it might not necessarily be better in terms of uh, being a tool that can be reliably used to build strength over time, and it's certainly not for everyone. So these odd tools such as sandbags, um, bosu ball, and god knows what, these are specialized tools. It can be used uh, for functional training, for it can be used, it has its own place in the program. But training only with an odd object just because we think it's more functional is a very dogmatic and very narrow minded way of looking at things. Yeah, certain sports mandate the use of these tools, and athletes require these tools to train simply because the sports requires of them. For example, strongman competitors have these really odd implements to move around And so they might use these odd tools as a training implement, but even strongman athletes use barbells as a staple of their training. So the lesson here is that odd objects have their place, but for pure strength and hypertrophy, barbell compounds are the smartest foundation, in my opinion. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Uh, if you disagree with me, if you think that I've missed out on certain points, make sure to comment down below. Uh, and if you want to work with me one-on-one, the description it's provided. If you want to work with me one-on-one, the details will be provided in the description of this video, and also to find it in the channel's description. And see you soon.